Welcome to using the Board Assessment Instrument. This starter instrument is intended to introduce board members to the concept of assessment and starts with their essential collaboration, particularly on the performance criteria, which we'll examine in a minute. Engaging board members in an assessment process is one way to ensure their active involvement in the organization. If they succeed, then your organization stands a much better chance of doing the same. Since the assessment instrument idea isn't new, let's go through some of the items in its structural design quickly so you have a sense of its entirety. But please don't try to read it on the screen. The text is too small for that. The one-page template is available in the Rumor & Clark template library, and you can download it there. Board members accustomed to an assessment process might benefit from a longer, more detailed form that includes specific criteria for committee assignments. That said, the principles are pretty much the same whether they be long or short, and always include criteria, which are the measures against which individual performance is judged, followed by the assessment section, which reflects each board member's appraisal of their performance. As noted a moment ago, establishing performance criteria should be collaborative. One organization's board actually used this instrument to agree on their goals for each year and would self-assess their performance toward meeting those goals every quarter. Formative, the process of discussing and self-assessing could influence how the board operates. The same organization I just mentioned that used this instrument for setting goals also used it to build fundraising capacity. One board member wasn't doing well with fundraising, and the board used that as an opportunity to discuss fundraising strategies and brainstorm solutions together. The board chair went so far as to mentor a more junior member and coach that person along. The criteria were discussed and agreed on for each fiscal year, in this case 2012. In fact, the board engaged each new potential member in the process of self-assessment against the current criteria for that year. The members' responses were an important part of the new member cultivation process. Whatever criteria your board agrees on should be applied to every member in order to be fair and shared with all new members of the board before coming onto it. Now let's take a look at how the above criteria were used to assess performance. Each board member would self-assess before they came onto the board and quarterly thereafter. The scale was from 1 to 4, 1 meaning that there was strong disagreement with the statement, and 4 meaning strong agreement with the statement. This particular board member is doing very well, though her response to criterion number 3 about the mission would be a good cue for the executive director to have a side conversation about the mission. If more than one board member scores low in this area, it might be time for the mission to be an agenda topic for a quarterly or special meeting. Keep in mind that most board members want to do well, but might require tools like a compelling mission statement, effective self-assessment, and tangible goals to be effective in their roles as board members. You could find that an assessment instrument like this will detect other things than those related just to board member performance. This current assessment assumed equal weight or value for each criterion. How would a board weight one criterion, such as fundraising, as more important than the others? Interesting question. That's just what the board did in our case study. Weights reflect the importance of each criterion to your organization and can be apportioned any way you want. This organization considered fundraising a top priority for board members and weighted that criterion as 40% of overall performance. Considering the importance placed on fundraising, we'll see that this board member is doing pretty well, having raised or contributed at least $3,000. It might be time to celebrate, especially if she didn't start out doing so well, or coach to get that number up a bit because it is, after all, weighted at 40%. If you want to go a step further, you could score this member using the scale from 1 to 4 at the top. So that would mean, in this case, for criterion number 1, 3 points would be awarded. For criterion number 2, 4 points would be awarded. Criterion number 3, 2 points awarded, and so on down the line for a total of 24 out of a possible 28 points. Clearly, points enough to celebrate. If you want to calculate a corresponding letter grade for this board member, you could do so by basing it on the percentage of each weight. Multiply this score here on the right, in this case 3, with the percentage here on the left, in this case 40, and you get 1.2. Doing that down the line, you get a total score of 3.3, which, well, is a very good grade point average because it corresponds to a B. Well done. Some coaching by an appropriate board member might bring the fundraising score up to an A, an accomplishment to celebrate at the appropriate time. Be sure to use your discretion when facilitating any assessment process. All of the math and talking of grading can be too reminiscent of schooling and be off-putting for some tastes. However you decide to do it, use standard criteria, collaboratively determined, will ensure a fair and credible process for learning, measurement, and ultimately success for your organization now and well into the future. Thank you for joining us for using the board assessment instrument, and please don't hesitate to contact us if we can be of assistance in helping you and your board meet your management and cultivation goals.